Irish American, and never would I pretend to be an African. You needing a history lesson because you forgot where you came from.
Isn't it amazing how some people can cover up their violent and racial pasts and portray themselves as the cleanest creatures on earth? Would you believe it if I said that the person now popular all around the globe was once a coke addict at the age of just 13, or a celebrity who was charged with chasing and throwing rocks at a group of black people? But what's more astonishing is how we often overlook these pasts and continue to follow such individuals. In this video, we'll ensure that Mark Wahlberg's dark past is known to everyone, leaving it up to people to decide whether the fame he has gotten is commendable or not.
But for 22-year-old Mark Robert Wahlberg, his meteoric rise to stardom is nothing short of incredible. At 15, he dropped out of high school. At 17, he was arrested for assault, spent 6 weeks in jail. At 19, he hit rock bottom, no direction, no future.
Mark Wahlberg, or Marky Mark as he's often called, was born on June 5, 1971. He's made quite a name for himself in both music and acting. Back in the 90s, he kicked off his career in the music scene with his group Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. One of his tracks, Good Vibrations, even hit platinum status. His appearance in this music video for the song earned him a modeling gig with Calvin Klein alongside Kate Moss as one of their underwear models in 1992. However, beneath the surface, there's a deeper story beyond the glamour and the fame.
Little verse, see, some do hip-hop and forget where it started. The claiming a white complexion ain't the reason why their records charted, please. Man, it's so easy to see. When a white dude raps, the public sees it as a novelty. Even me, although I take it seriously, some just like me because of my RACE, but I won't quit and I won't stop, because I do hip-hop records just because I love hip-hop. See you later.
Just a few years later, in 1993, Mark made his Hollywood debut starring in the film Fear. After that, he shifted his focus entirely to acting, leaving behind his music career. Since his first movie, he's landed roles in countless films, earning recognition for his acting skills. Despite his troubled past, which we'll dive into shortly, Mark's success is undeniable. He's won over 24 awards throughout his career, with many recognizing his work both on and off screen, including his production roles in shows like Entourage and Boardwalk Empire. But despite all this success, fame, and recognition, why is the social media all over asking Mark to apologize? What has he done so wrong and illegal that people are unable to forgive him, including his very own fans? Let's get to it. According to the locals who grew up with Mark in Dorchester, Mark and his sibling Wahlbergs were a big presence in the neighborhood. They were also asked to stay away from his younger family because they were described as a tough crowd. Throughout his teenage year, Mark was enrolled at Boston's Copley Square High School, but later decided to drop out from high school at just the age of 14, which was arguably the least of his problems. Want to know why? By the shocking age of just 13, Wahlberg had already developed a serious coke habit and was abusing other substances as well. In one of the interviews with Vanity Fair, he was thanking God that he was never exposed to because he was certain that if he'd got his hands on such a substance, he wouldn't hesitate to try it. But all these habits were just destroying Mark himself, and the teenager didn't limit his bad behavior only to self-destruction. Apart from doing all these illegal and wrong things at this young age, his other crimes were stealing cars, selling drugs, mugging wealthier kids all around Boston, and frequently getting into fights that would later get him to serve prison time. In 1986, shortly after his 15th birthday, Mark and his 3 friends were accused of targeting 3 black children. According to court documents, they threatened them, told them they were unwelcome in the neighborhood, and chased after them, throwing rocks while chanting racial slurs and murder threats. And if that wasn't enough to portray themselves as bad kids, Mark joined a group of white men to commit a similar act the very next day at the beach towards a group of black children once again. It was like an addiction or habit for Mark to harass and humiliate black people, and despite all this, he was given a firm place in the movie and music industry. Because of these crimes, which he thought were minor, Wahlberg was found guilty of violating the civil rights of his victims, with a civil rights injunction being issued against him with 2 of his friends. While this might have been a wake-up call for some, not for Wahlberg. Just 2 years later, on April the 8th, 1988, Mark was barely 16 years old when he ended up attacking two Vietnamese men, Tan Lam and Johnny Trin. He beat Tan Lam with a wooden stick and punched the other one right in the eye, leading the victim to become unconscious. Due to this incident, Johnny Trin lost his one eye permanently. This attack was also clearly racially motivated, as he made numerous racist remarks during the attack. When brought to the scene of the crime, he didn't attempt to deny it, and instead he proudly declared, "I'll tell you now, that's the fucker whose head I split open." According to sources, it's been claimed that Wahlberg was charged with attempted murder, but pleaded guilty to felony assault, claiming that he was high on drugs and that the attacks weren't race-related. Due to his previous civil rights injunction prohibiting him from assaulting, threatening, or intimidating anyone because of race or nationality, he was found to be in contempt of court and was sentenced to a 2-year prison sentence. Although he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, he only served 45 days and got out on bail. What's more surprising is that in 2014, Mark Wahlberg sought pardon for the second attack. He said, "I'm deeply sorry for the actions that I took on the night of April the 8th, 1988, as well as for any lasting damage that I may have caused the victims. Since that time, I've dedicated myself to becoming a better person and citizen so that I can be a role model to my children and others." And you know why he suddenly felt the need to apologize? Well, after making that apology, he worked to wipe out his criminal record of this attack. Why? Because he was getting into a restaurant deal and wanted a clean slate. He aimed to wipe clean before collaborating closely with law enforcement, as his intentions were to help children at risk get a better life. In an article, Mark Wahlberg himself has stated, "My hope is that if I receive a pardon, troubled youths will see this as an inspiration and motivation that they too can turn their lives around." In recent years, his victims have spoken out about him and his lifestyle. They've shared their thoughts on whether he deserves forgiveness or a second chance. Christina Atwood, one of his victims from the 1986 incident where he and his friends threw rocks at girls, stated that he shouldn't be pardoned. She said, "I don't really care who he is. It doesn't make him an exception. If you're a racist, you're always going to be a racist. And for him to want to erase it, I just think it's wrong."
Hate crime, and that's exactly what should be on his record forever. And for him to want to erase it, I just think is wrong.
While one of his Vietnamese victims, Johnny Trin, who got blinded in one eye due to his attack, has a different opinion, saying that he should be forgiven. He said, "He was young and reckless, but I forgive him now. Everyone deserves another chance. I would like to see him get a pardon. He should not have the crime hanging over him any longer." In a recent interview of 2020, Mark said that he had made things right. He said, "I took it upon myself to own up to my mistakes and go against the grain and not be part of the gang anymore, to say that I was going to go and do my own thing. It made it 10 times more difficult to walk from my home to the train station, to go to school, to go to work, but I also prided myself on doing the right thing and turning my life around. I would hope that people would be able to get a second chance in life."
That I had to apologize was right there in court when, all the dust had settled and I was getting shackled and taken away. And certainly, I've made sure that I paid my debt to society and, continue to try to do things to make up for the mistakes that I've made.
Today, Mark Wahlberg has a net worth of over $400 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth, and has appeared in countless movies. Despite his troubled past and unforgettable history, he's been forgiven by many worldwide and given a second chance, during which he's proved to be a better person than he was in his teenage years. But the question remains, would you forgive Mark for his past actions? Would you be able to cope with the trauma if you were one of his victims? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As we conclude this video, if you found the case we covered today intriguing, remember to subscribe to the channel for more captivating content like this. Until next time, take care and goodbye.